4 months after the historic flooding, folks are continuing to rebuild. We visited 2 locations today. At one, the rebuild is nearly complete. At the other, a rebuild may never happen. And FEMA provides funding for Perry County to buy some land impacted by July's flood. What that money could mean for the county.
And showers look to return by the middle of the work week. That full first alert forecast coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
The rebuilding process continues in Eastern Kentucky 4 months after the flood. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox gives us an update on how 2 communities are progressing.
A lot of progress has been made since July 28th, and there's still plenty to do.
But we're in the cleanup phase, getting the field back in and maybe just dressing everything up to where I can get back to grooming it, cutting the grass and stuff like that.
Some buildings were washed away by the floodwater, like a country store on Highway 476 owned by Drury's grandparents that was soon to be celebrating its 100th birthday.
A lot of history right here at this old store. And it was kind of hard the first time I ever came up here to see the store wasn't here.
Now dirt covers the foundation of a building where he grew up. In Knott County, a newly furnished court replaces the historic one that so many players grew up playing on before floodwater destroyed it.
You know, it was an old floor, and like we said earlier, there's a lot of history on that floor. People were taking parts and pieces of the floor from the old one.
Region championship teams made their run on the original Knott Central floor. Now the new one could be motivation for the season ahead.
I think it will motivate them to want to play hard and do well on this new floor when the fans come in.
A lot of cherished property was taken sooner than Eastern Kentuckians hoped, and they are still faced with it every day while trying to move on to a new chapter in life. In Knott County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Drury Lee Jones says he planned on having a celebration for the store's 100th birthday, but now he does not plan to build anything back. Like many others in Eastern Kentucky, Chastity Mullins was fast asleep in her Jenkins home as the water swiftly rose in late July. She says she still can't believe what she saw when one of her sons eventually woke her up. A mother of 4, Mullins and her boyfriend rounded up the kids and gathered all they could before getting to safety, but they lost everything they left behind. To rub salt in fresh wounds, her boyfriend was forced to resign from his job. With no way of supporting themselves, they tried seeking aid from both FEMA and the Red Cross, but she had issues with proving ownership of her home to FEMA because her home was still technically in her grandmother's name.
A lot of the homes around Eastern Kentucky are passed down through heirship or bought on a land sales contract that may not have been recorded with the county clerk.
Mullins says she's still trying to find paperwork 4 months after the flood. If you're like Mullins and are facing some obstacles to getting help, one place you might be able to go are flood recovery meetings. Now, a group of people are actually meeting right now at Kane Kitchen in Letcher County to talk about flood response and recovery. That meeting will continue until 7 o'clock. Another meeting will take place tomorrow in Breathitt County. The goal is to gather for a meal and have a conversation about the community's biggest flood recovery needs. The gathering tomorrow will take place at Marie Roberts Caney Elementary beginning at 4 p.m. You must register for the event, but at the end of the gathering, each household will receive a $100 gift card. Now, there are 2 other meetings scheduled for later on in Knott and Perry counties. Those meetings will be on December 3rd and December 19th. You can see the times and locations there on your screen. We'll have all this on our website as well.
Gloomy weather continues across the mountains into this evening, but a few changes are on the way by the middle of the week. Let's go over to Slade. You can see at the Mountain Parkway as the sun begins to set around the region. We are looking at quiet conditions. Current temperature at 49 degrees over at that location. And same story over at the London Corbin Airport. A cloudy sky back in the distance, also sitting at 49 degrees right now. And notice The wind is calm. It will be far from calm as we get towards Tuesday night and Wednesday. Temperatures upper 40s for most of us, 49 for London, 47 in Jackson, down to 41 in Wise, and 44 over in Pikeville. We are looking at a clean sweep on radar, but clouds continue across the region, and they will stick around into tonight. We stay under a partly cloudy sky, maybe a few areas of patchy fog overnight tonight. Low temperatures falling into the middle 30s. That full forecast coming up in just a little bit. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. FEMA has approved more than $2 million for Perry County. WYMT's Olivia Calfee has more on where that money is headed.
13 properties in Perry County were approved in Phase 1 of the FEMA buyout program, costing more than $2 million.
In Phase 1, there was 13 properties that's already been approved, and that's where that first round of money will go to, is to buy those 13 homes out.
Once the property is approved by FEMA and bought out, the property can no longer be used for development or homes, becoming what is known as green space.
We tear down all the buildings and everything on that property and just leave it as is. You can't use it for public use. You can't put campers on it. You can't put tents on it. It's just left as is once we clean the property up.
Alexander says all 13 properties being bought out are in a flood zone.
We're hoping to alleviate any future potential flooding for the individuals that's wanting their property bought out.
Adding that they've seen nearly 60 homeowners sign up for the FEMA buyout program in Perry County, hoping to continue the program phase after phase.
The next phase will be FEMA will approve 6 or 7 more homes at a time, and we think they will continue to do that. There's no guarantee, but we're hoping that they will continue to do that for those that want to be bought out. And so we'll continue to work with them in each step of the way to try to get more homeowners approved.
It is not too late to apply for the FEMA buyout program. In Perry County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, if you would still like to meet with FEMA in person, multi-agency resource centers are still open in Clay, Breathitt, Floyd, Knott, Letcher, and Perry counties. 3 counties in eastern Kentucky were randomly selected today as part of a standard post-election audit from the Kentucky Attorney General's office. Rowan, Laurel, and Breathitt were among the 12 that were selected. The audits will be conducted by the Attorney General's Department of Criminal Investigations. The audit has to be conducted within 20 days of the election. 1 person is dead following a crash early today in Letcher County. Officials with Letcher EMS tell us it happened around 8:30 this morning on Highway 7, just south of the Blackie community. The driver was identified as 22-year-old Matthew Bailey of Blackie. We're told Bailey left the road, flipped several times, and was ejected from the car. Officials say Bailey was the only person in the vehicle. A Dickinson County, Virginia man who went missing earlier this month was found dead over the weekend. Norton police tell us they found Jason Keith Mullins Saturday afternoon. They did not release where he was found in relation to Norton Community Hospital, where he went missing from back on November 13th. Police did say at this point no foul play is suspected in his death. His body was sent to the medical examiner's office in Roanoke for an autopsy. The man accused of killing London police officer Logan Medlock was back in court today. Casey Bird appeared in Laurel Circuit Court for a pretrial conference. Bird is accused of driving drunk when he crashed into Officer Medlock's cruiser last month. Police say Bird's blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit. He's being held on a $1 million bond and is set to be back in court December 19th for a bond hearing and another pretrial conference.
The weather is quiet tonight, but rain chances and gusty winds are not too far away. Those details coming up right after this.
And COVID, flu, and RSV all continue to cause problems throughout the region. We spoke with local health officials about how to slow the spread. And the Perry County Library is set to host its holiday bazaar.